It says we are live. Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day, maybe good night to some of you, but wherever you are, welcome. Welcome to Biz with Joy. Grow your business in style, where we interview and meet with leaders leaving legacies. And tonight, our featured guest is going to be sharing with you a lot of powerful, wonderful information. Welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Applaud the work that you're doing. And I see you as a pioneer and a female trailblazer because you took the bull by the horns and you said people need to know more about this. IBS is not something that people want to talk about. So tips and tricks we need to know. And I never share with you that I have an aunt and an uncle who had this issue. So tell us a little bit about what brought you to this book and how are you going to share this book with us? Let's start off with what brought you to the work that you're doing now. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So when I first became a certified integrative nutrition health coach specializing in chronic digestive disorders, I thought that my experience with my own chronic digestive disorders were really the most important part of my story, that they were really my only story that anyone would be able to resonate with. And I was actually taking a course by Tom Martin Media, and he really encouraged me to tell my entire story because everything from way back into my childhood contributed to my IBS. So he encouraged me and kind of gave me the strength and the courage to really tell everything from the very beginning, not just the 5 or 6 years that I suffered terribly before I was able to educate my doctors about the root cause of my condition.
I love this story, and you know why? The way that you ended it. We all need a person like a Tom in our life, no matter how gifted we are in whatever area. And what he was able to do was to give you the impetus to start and go further from the beginning to the end so you could share your journey with other people. And that's great. And that's what brought you to this book. You said that you started and you had this issue, this concern, this health concern from an early age. When did you realize that this was something that was really not very good and healthy for you and something you had to learn to master? And what you said about educating the doctors, that's what brought me to you. When did that begin? How old were you when you began to know that something's not right here?
Well, I first became sick when I was 16. I had my first endoscopy and colonoscopy. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, hiatal hernia, gastrointestinal reflux disease. Wow. And my doctors gave me medication and I took it. And I had another round of tests done in my mid-20s. And it wasn't really, and I battled with it on and off, just taking different medications, trial and error, this and that. And then things really took a turn for the worst when I was in my mid-30s, and I was pretty much unfunctional for about 2 years. And that's when I said, enough is enough.
Enough is enough. I think we all get to that at some point in time that comes to us, however it does. When you say that somewhere midway, you decided enough is enough, what was that turning point that made you say, I've had enough of this? I'm not finding the answers that I want, so I'm going to do my own research and exploring. Did that come to you at some point in midlife? Is that what you're saying? I love that term, midlife.
So yeah, after I'd been working with my gastroenterologist for about 2 years, when I was really not at all functional, I was pretty much on the bathroom floor and in pain and miserable and losing weight like crazy. He decided that he wanted to do another round of tests, even though I'd had them done, because I think he actually thought that he might be missing something also. So that kind of, even though I didn't want to have the test done because it's not fun, I really thought, okay, they're going to find something this time. And they're going to say, okay, Samantha, you have this, and this is the protocol, and you're going to get better. And I woke up in the exam room out of my anesthesia, and he said, okay, Ms. Weiland, everything looks great. I'll see you back in my office in about 6 weeks. And I think at that point, I just hit rock bottom. I just went to this deep depression. I just felt hopeless. I couldn't even go back to see him for weeks and weeks because I was a mess.
I can imagine, Samantha, what I shared briefly in the beginning there, and there was a little bit of an interruption, is I know of people, many reasons that I came to align with you was that I know what this somewhat is about as a layman, because I had two people in my family that I know of who had this issue. And so I'm asking you as delicately as you can, because for a while, IBS was not so much the terminology of the symbols that we're using, the abbreviation. What is it really, and what causes it? What can you share with those out here in the audience who will come later for the replay, who might not know exactly what IBS is all about? We know it's an irritable bowel syndrome, but tell us a little bit more, that maybe people have it, and I wouldn't think they don't know, but how can you share with us some more information about what it entails for each individual, even though I know, or I'm asking, it might be different for everyone.
Yeah, that is correct. It is very different for everyone. So according to my doctor, after I had gotten better, 2 years into my treatment, he said to me, I asked him, I said, did you know that the root cause of my conditions were, emotional, psychological, and hormonal? And he said, yes, absolutely. And I said, then why do you give it the term irritable bowel syndrome? He said, because most patients just don't like the idea of thinking their stomach issues are coming from, their emotions or their stress or their hormones. They want to put a name on it. So that's what they do. They give it this blanket term, or this phantom term, irritable bowel syndrome, which really just means your stomach can be irritated by all sorts of different things.
Which causes a vast upset in the process of how you intake and eliminate.
Absolutely.
Very, very
absolutely. The symptoms are 100% real. It's just the diagnosis that's a little bit.
Absolutely. Because I recall my aunt who lived with us for a while, and it was absolutely painful to see the excruciating pain that she would go through from time to time. So you mentioned 3 keys here that are paramount regardless to how it affects an individual: emotional, hormonal, and stress. Well, we all kind of deal with that from time to time. Stomach issues though, right? So what and how did you go about your own research to gather together this information, where you've written this great book, which I'm asking everyone, regardless if you have or not, of someone, to go out and get this book as a Christmas gift, because it's a great book. The best tips and tricks for IBS you are ever going to need. So if not for you, give this as a gift to someone that who might have some stomach issues. So what and how did you start your research to find out what would work best to rid you of this IBS syndrome?
So I started to do my own research, like we mentioned, and I actually found an article from Johns Hopkins University on PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, because I was having I was having anxiety, I was having hormone fluxes, I was having heavy menstrual cycles that never ended. I was having terrible pain. I was having rashes and bumps on my tongue. And I noticed that my mood was so extreme, and some problems obviously didn't help with that, because obviously you can't be very happy when you're in constant pain, but I was really out of control. So I started thinking, maybe it's like a PMS thing. And they listed 99 symptoms. They listed 100 symptoms of PMDD and perimenopause, and out of 100 symptoms, I had 99. And the only one I didn't have was weight gain, because I had no solid food in my stomach for almost 2 years.
Back up. Hold the fort. Are you saying that whatever test they gave you, out of the 100 symptoms that they asked you to check off, you had 99 of them?
Because they were all over the map. I mean, 5 or 6 of them were in my stomach, but I had panic attacks. I had night sweats. I had hives, and everything seemed unrelated. Like, I needed to see a dermatologist, or, I had to have go to see a cardiologist, or, they didn't seem related. So, but basically what it became for me was almost like an autoimmune disorder. Because I would take a medication, and I would get out of the shower, and I would be covered in hives. And I would tell my doctor, I'm allergic to this medication. And then I would eat something that I had been eating every day for years and break out in that same rash. So it was almost like my body was attacking itself.
Let me ask you this, Samantha, and I'm sure there are people out here in the audience who will want to have this as an answer. And something tells me I'm very intuitive and empathic and all those other good things. So I always go with what flows through. Is this an issue, a concern that's more with women than with men? Because you mentioned hormonal imbalances that one has, and we as women just have them for all the different reasons that we do. So is IBS, is that more common for women as opposed to men? Or how does that play out percentage wise?
Statistically, women are more prone to IBS, but from the research and the work that I've been doing as a health coach, I have seen a large number of men complaining about, not complaining, but seeking advice about irritable bowel syndrome. So in terms of what I'm seeing, it seems like 50-50, but maybe the men just aren't necessarily going to the doctor and reporting those things, which would make sense. It is a little bit of a sensitive topic.
Absolutely. And let's face it, reality, which we attempt to deal with every day. Men don't go into the emotional realm and the stress realm as much as we as women do, or if they do, it's in a whole different range. So I can see where at this point you might think it's 50-50, but I doubt it. I would bet with statistics and figures that you're going to find out that there are more women who do. And one of the favorite not so much back in my day, but somebody that I love and adore and always will, was Judy Garland, who had this IBS big time, big time, and was not able to get the cures and the answers that she needed. So tell us, before we go to a quick little break here, other than all the things that you mentioned, the rash and the bumps and the hives and the night sweats and all this hormonal imbalance stuff that we deal with, that most people deal with, what are some of the other symptoms that lets a person know right off the bat that they have IBS?
Oh, for sure. Constipation, diarrhea, nausea, reflux, vomiting, intense stomach cramping, intense back pain. Those are all signs that there are some sort of imbalance in the gut and inflammation. Although I didn't technically have anything physically wrong with me, just from being so sick, I did have minor inflammation in my intestines, which is normal if you're
Sure.
constantly in the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Inflammation and all the other things that you mentioned. And you mentioned the first one I think you mentioned was constipation. That's a biggie in this country. But that doesn't necessarily equate to IBS, does it? But
It does.
It does?
There's there's IBS-D, which is IBS diarrhea. Then there's IBS-C, which is IBS constipation. And then some people have a combination of the two.
Fascinating. You see, we live and we learn, and this is the beauty of life. That's really interesting because I didn't know that. I know, listen, we don't go personal, but I know of someone that I know very, very well who's a dear friend who was having all kinds of issues with constipation. So now I know that that could be a symptom of IBS as well. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic that you're sharing with us all of this information. And here's what I know, Samantha, and you know it as well. I'm a health enthusiast. I believe that our bodies, our temple, our vessel, that's it. And we have to take care of it and learn to be able to take care of it as best we can. And that means learning everything that we can about our bodies so that we can be the best that we are here to be and share that knowledge with others, which is why I applaud you. You can put your tiara on because I really think that you're a female trailblazer. I think that you're an agent of change and you're putting all of this really powerful information out here that most people, like politics, tech, sex, religion, they don't want to talk about, yet is prevalent in their lifestyle. So bravo to you. I'm going to take a quick break here just to let people know a few things that are coming up. And then I'm going to come back and I want you to share with us some things about the book. And I want you to hold up the book so we can see it and talk a wee bit about the book. So hold tight. I'll be back with you in a split second. Thanks. Listen, I love women who are female trailblazers. And we sometimes take that title and label it to women that we read about in the history books. But believe me, they're right here among you and I, all of us, because they are women who take the initiative to go and do what they have to do. And I'm very fortunate that I've met so many like that. And I applaud Samantha every day because I know that what she's dealing with is not something that people want to talk about, and yet it needs to be discussed. So I'm hoping that when I get back to her and we talk more about her book, that you're going to get out and get the book, because it's a good little book, and we're going to talk a wee bit about it. Now, if you're here and you're here for the first time, or maybe if you've been here before and you want this for a friend, make sure that you get this Biz, B-I-Z, and put that in the comments. Just type in the comments Biz, B-I-Z, and you'll get a complimentary booklet, which will be delivered to you, which will give you lots of tips and tools about how you interview, whether you are the interviewer or E. And all the tips there are very powerful and it's a little bit of a secret sauce for you, and you'll enjoy it. That's a promise. And also, I want to say to you, if you're here this Thursday, which is, can you believe it, the 18th, I'm giving a workshop in my Facebook creator room for leading ladies, leading legacies. So if you're not a member, go and join, because you'll get a special link that you can come in, and we're going to be talking about a little bit of everything, but I'm really going to focus on jewelry. And you're going to find it interesting. You're going to find things that you didn't know about it, and we'll talk about that. So just stay tuned and go and join Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies, and join us there. And my intention is to send out some personal invitations. And now what I want to do is get back to Samantha. And what I want to do, Samantha, is I want to talk about this book, because I am celebrating you, because I know the love, the energy, and the time, and the effort, and the heart you put into this book. So tell us a little bit about, or first tell us, I know that you love everything in the book, and it's all great information. But what's one part of that book that will apply to everyone, whether they have IBS or not, something that will stimulate them enough to want to go out and purchase it?
Sure. So let me just show you the book here. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous.
It is.
My designer did a fantastic job. I originally published it as an ebook on Amazon, and it got rave reviews, but I meant it really to be a resource guide. So I am not a writer per se. I don't have the attention span to sit and write, a 400-page book. So this is like little snippets. It's meant to be a resource. So someone might find one little excerpt inspiring, and they're having a flare-up, or they're not feeling good, and they open to that excerpt and they read it, and the pictures are meant to be inspiring. And it's almost like a magazine, sort of, because it goes along with my attention span. So here is an excerpt that has gotten a lot of quotes and a lot of positive feedback on Amazon, because it does really apply to, I really feel it applies to everyone. So the excerpt actually called Round and Round, and I have a picture of a little merry-go-round here.
Yes.
That's that's kind of that's sort of an image that comes into my mind when I think about irritable bowel syndrome. So here we go. Having a functional digestive condition, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, gastrointestinal reflux disease, ulcers, etc., is like being stuck in a Ferris wheel that never stops. You have ups and downs, but you can never get off. You have tried everything, but you just can't stop the wheel from spinning. 5 years ago, I hit the emergency brake. No more tests, no more trial medications, no more waiting 6 months to see my doctor. I stood still, and I did a full assessment of how I felt, what I had tried, and what worked for what and what didn't. I saw a pattern emerge. The root cause of my condition was emotional, psychological, and hormonal. There was nothing wrong with my body. It was my reaction to things that created the issue. Being diagnosed with a functional digestive disorder means there is no magic cure, no one magic pill to fix it. You don't need fixing. You are not broken. Once you put on the brakes and listen to what is going on with your body, you will hear the truth with some guidance, and the truth is what sets you free.
I love that. I think that's really, and that ending, you are not broken, that applies to all of us in so many ways, regardless to what we're dealing with. And I love the way you explain how you put the book together for all of us. And it will make a great Christmas gift for a lot of people. You said that it's a resource book. And that's great, because too many people out here today, for numerous reasons, and I'm not going there, are experts. But what you're saying is, I've taken my journey, I put all of my tricks and tips and tools together that have benefited me thus far, and sharing with those who want to know more. What's better than that? And when it comes to functional and being able to not have a leaky gut and have all these other concerns that can lead to IBS, this is a book that you can, even if you're a health enthusiast and you're absolutely 100% plus healthy, it's a good book to have on your shelf to know about these things, right? How much does the right foods and exercise play into this, Samantha? I'm asking you that for a reason.
Well, I think it's definitely different for everyone. Obviously part of your IBS, food is a contributing factor, not necessarily the only factor. Some people are more sensitive to foods. Some people are more sensitive to stress. So it really depends on the individual. Like I said, irritable bowel syndrome is 100% bio-individual.
Let's talk a little bit about something that just the verbiage, just the way it's expressed leads people to go, ugh. And when it comes to the real issues and how IBS affects different people, it becomes a topic that you kind of shy and pull away from, and yet we need to be pulling in towards it. What and how do you express and explain what a leaky gut is? Because that's verbiage and terminology that's used a lot. But what about the layman who really doesn't quite get the essence and the meaning of what that's about? What is, I mean, I think I know, but I don't think and surmise anything. What is a leaky gut?
So I'm betting this is going to surprise you. It's not, but it's not what it sounds like. Leaky gut, because we don't really go there. Leaky gut is actually another functional disorder, which just means that there's a breakdown in your gut wall. So your gut wall has like links, like a chain, and it acts like bouncers at a nightclub. And if you continue to bombard that wall with artificial ingredients, artificial sugars, too much gluten, different things, it starts to break down. And then after a while, some of the bad things start to get in, and then your stomach is very much like a brain. It becomes very confused about, like, what do we let in? What do we bounce out? So that's what I call leaky gut. It doesn't necessarily mean you are leaking. It just means that things are getting into your digestion. It just means that there's an imbalance in your gut microbiome, which is the healthy gut bacteria or your bouncers.
Samantha, I love analogies. I love comparisons when it's in this realm. So when you said the stomach is like the brain and blah, 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 expound a wee bit more on that, because that's interesting. And, different things resonate with different people contingent upon all the variables. But yet when it comes to IBS and what that really means and how it's vastly different for different people, but yet it has its base meaning. Leaky gut, the way you explained it, I'm sure I read a wee bit about it, so I knew that would be the answer, and people needed to know that. So when you make that comparison, when you say it's somewhat like the brain, how do you mean that?
Well, there's a lot of information out there about the brain-gut connection. Your stomach is really the first line of defense as soon as because it produces serotonin, which is your happy hormone. It's your fight or flight hormone. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what's happening to you in your life, your stomach is the first line of defense. It's the one that's going to kick in those hormones to help you either to, run from a tiger, which most of us don't do anymore, jump out of the way of a moving car, when you pull your hand off the stove, when you touch it accidentally, that's your stomach reacting. It's not just your fingers, it's actually your stomach. And so it can also do the opposite. So if you stay in that fight or flight mode for too long, now you're not able to relax. And when you're not able to relax, you're not able to properly digest, and you're not able to properly sleep. So you see how it's a whole rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole. Yes, Samantha, I'm like a little kid here sometimes, and I love that I am, because I'm a happy senior. But let me share this with you. Every now and then when I'm working here in my office and I tune in to PBS, I happen to love that station and support them. And the other night, what you just said, this is why I wanted you to expound on it. They're talking about eat healthy, eat good foods to keep your brain alive and awake and active and engaged so that you prevent this Alzheimer's, which is very prevalent. And what you just said is another analogy that ties into that. You eat healthy foods, you eat good foods. It keeps your brain alive and well and healthy. And that connects to your stomach, that first line of defense and all of that good stuff. Bravo to you. Bravo to you. Now, Tell us, how long has this book been out here, and what else would you like for us to know? I heard you say the book is a resource, and I love the way you express that to all of us. But tell us some of the other things that this book will do and give us, especially if we're offering it as a gift to someone that we love and adore who we know might need or want this type of information. What else can you share with us?
Sure, absolutely. There is actually, I'm not sure I can find it, but I can tell you about it. There is actually a checklist that you can either photocopy or tear out, and it is a guideline. Here we go. What I wish I knew before visiting my doctor. So you can actually check these boxes off either when you're at the doctor or before you go to the doctor, and it actually is a separate, totally separate thing, and you can, like I said, photocopy it. Or this way, you just make the most out of your doctor's appointment. Sometimes I feel like doctors talk at you, yes, and you're just bombarded with all this information, and then you get in the car and go, oh, I forgot to ask this. So, if you have everything, if you have this guide right here, after you make that appointment, you start checking off the boxes, bring this with you, bring everything with you, then you're going to make that most out of that 15, 20-minute appointment if you're lucky.
I think that's brilliant. You know why? Because most of us, we love our checklists because we go boom, 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 boom. Checklist, quiz, puzzles, guides, anything that's going to give us enough that we know what we have to do as we move onward. It's always good. So good for you. When did you decide to write this book? Was it within the past year during the pandemic because we had all this time, or you just decided after meeting and discussing this issue, this concern, which is major with a lot of people, that you needed to write this book? Tell us how that came about.
Sure. It started, I guess, in the summer. Like I said, I took a course by Tom Martin of
Yes.
Tom Martin Media, and he was really, he really works with authors. And I said to him, I am not an author, and I'm not going to sit down and write a 400-page book about my life, which I probably could because, the shenanigans of my life began at a very young age when I was, an infant, actually. And it's all in here. So I just sort of thought this was a little bit of a better way to reference those things and how I overcame them. Just to give, not to make myself sound like a hero or to make it sound like I was having a pity party, but it was like, okay, so has this kind of thing ever happened to you? Well, it happened to me, and either I did this right or I screwed this up, and then it led to this. And it's kind of my whole life story in little snippets.
Samantha, I love this, and I like the way you're edifying Tom. Tom is a person that we both know, and he's a great guy, and he has helped a lot of people tremendously because he knows the media area. And so all the things that he's given to different people at different times, and the way that you edify him and the way that you support people, I commend you for that. So thank you, Tom, for allowing Samantha to have her awakening and to write this book for all of us. Samantha, the time flies here. It's over. It's gone. What pearls of wisdom, what gems would you like to leave us with? Some food for thought, whatever you want to say, the stage is yours.
Sure, thank you. So absolutely, number one, be an advocate for your own health. No one knows your body better than you do. Like I said before, you do not need fixing. You are not broken. Everything's figure outable. And if you'd like to purchase the book, you can go to Your Best Life by Samantha.com/book. And if you leave a review, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Samantha, I have to tell you, the time here goes so quickly and it's over, but you gave us lots of good, juicy tips and tricks and information that will benefit all of us as we move forward. And hopefully, many of us who know people who deal with this concern will be able to share this book with them as a gift. I'm going to put you in the green room, and I'll say so long for now, but I'll be back with you in just a second. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. You're welcome.